What if they never become butterflies? If eggs never grow into caterpillars? What if the process of pupa is interrupted by the process of life? What if social determinants prevent them from emerging from cocoons? What if they never see those beautiful wings fling into the direction of their destiny? I can't fathom, can't imagine, can't stand the thoughts of the what if. That's why each one should teach one, should love one, should mentor at least one. I'm not a medical doctor, not a researcher. I don't have a PhD, and I haven't written a scholarly essay as it relates to social determinants. However, I am the woman who has overcome social determinants. And let's just be honest, I am the woman who is yet and still overcoming social determinants. I had no idea what social determinants was, to be quite honest with you. No idea at all. And then I joined the Office of Health Equity. And I realized social determinants was the things that I said was a hard knock life for us. It's a hard knock life. That was social determinants. I said, wow, well, I've been going through that my whole life, you know? But I found out that social determinants of health are the conditions in which people are born, grow, live, work, and age. Circumstances that are shaped by the distribution of money, power, and resources. And the Office of Health Equity work to identify and eliminate health disparities for all children, no matter what their zip code is. And that's amazing to me, because I began to think about the other social determinants of health. Economic stability, or lack thereof. Education, or lack thereof. Social and community context, or lack thereof. Health, health care, or lack thereof. Neighborhoods and built environments, or lack thereof. And I keep saying the or lack thereof because that's why the Office of Health Equity exists, because there is a lack thereof. I want to tell you about these 5 social determinants of health, but I want to tell you my own way through my own story. Take a look at this picture. We have 2 fathers in this picture giving their son 2 different things, but they're saying the same thing. This is yours. Son, it's been in the family for generations. And the caption that I put on that was, it's not their fault, but it is their fight. And so many times we have children that come through the system here, through Children's for whatever reason, and they're going through so many things, and it has nothing to do necessarily with them and what they've done. It's just what they've been passed down. Because this goes beyond wealth or riches. It goes into the mentality that's been passed down, the behavior patterns that's been passed down, and the health, or the lack thereof. I want to tell y'all a story. Because of the social determinants that I've dealt with in my life, I've had to move place to place. And we were in kinship care with my grandmother to avoid foster care. Now, in the process of doing this, I have always loved my grandma's grits. Oh my God, grits? That was the best thing ever, right? And so as a kid growing up, I just eat my grandma's grits, eat my grandmother's grits. I was about 24, 25, and I actually saw my grandmother cook the grits for the first time in my life. She pulled out 4 things of butter, the whole strips. And she put one in the grits and started stirring, and I was like, oh, that's a lot of butter, but I didn't say anything. She pulled out the second strip of butter and put it in the grits. I said, what is happening here? When she got to the third one, I was like, Grandma, step away from the grits. I had no idea that this was happening my whole life, you know? And I was loving these grits and just eating them. And then I began to look at all of the patterns in my whole family, the obesity that was going through the family, and different things. And I said, this is not our fault. This is what Grandma taught us. And not in a bad way, because her mother taught her that. And she said, my grandmother said to me when I told her to step away from the grits, because I did tell her to step away from the grits. And when I told her that, she was like, girl, this is how you get the flavor. And I was like, in 3 stomachs, Grandma. This is my story. I grew up on the east side of Detroit in a not-so-great neighborhood. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst, but it wasn't that great. I've seen a lot of things. And that little girl right there was so excited, that smile, because I was going to church. I love church. I love dressing up, and I love hats, and my grandmother would get that for me. And then this girl in the middle is the one who won debate championships, because I didn't have the best grades in the world, but I could run my mouth. And I could debate with the best of them. And so that little girl is in the middle. And then that one on that end is the one that goes around now talking about different subjects, such as this one, to different people, because I found my voice, even in the midst of all of the disparities that I had going on in my life. I grew up with a single mother who had experienced domestic violence, and she experienced it, but I saw it all the time, which affected me a lot. An incarcerated father who was incarcerated since I was 7 years old and is still incarcerated. Aid to dependent children, food stamps, and evictions. Quick story about the evictions because it leads to another point that I'm trying to make. The economic stability or lack thereof was about these evictions. Because I remember one eviction in particularly when we had to move ourselves. Now the good part is that we found somewhere to live. The bad part is that my mother could not afford for us to get a moving truck. And since we were in the same neighborhood, walking distance where we moved, she made us move ourselves. Now the bad part about that is that we had to move ourselves on a school day while school was in session across the school field. So there we were with boxes and mattresses, carrying them, and the kids in school are laughing. So you know what the next day of school looked like for me. And so then I began to be defensive. I began to protect myself because they're going to bully me. They're going to talk about me. So then I became labeled as the angry one. So all of a sudden now I have behavioral health problems. But of course, I can't address them as behavioral health problems because I never admitted, because the taboo is that we don't go to therapy because that would make us crazy. So there was no such thing as a behavioral health clinician helping me through my problems. And they wanted me to function properly in school when I was upset because the fight that happened before I actually got to school that day before only allowed me to have about 2 hours of sleep. And I was afraid of what my mother's face would look like in the morning, so I couldn't sleep. But they didn't tell me that. They didn't tell me that. There was nobody there to say, this is what you're going through and this is how you fix it. So I learned how to use stages and microphones to put out everything that was ever hurting me. So poetry had became a part of my life. But I didn't get there by myself. Maya Angelou wrote a poem called Alone, and a section of the poem says, I come up with this one thing and I don't believe that I'm wrong, that nobody, but nobody can make it out here alone. Alone, all alone, nobody, but nobody can make it out here alone. And I didn't make it out here alone because she saw me, she heard me, and she believed in me. And her name was Ernestine Johnson. She was my 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teacher, and it wasn't by coincidence. She was my English teacher. She was the reason why those 26 letters that make up words made me fall in love with literature, words, poetry, reading, writing, because she saw me in the midst of everything that I was going through. She became that trusted relationship for me, that experience that I actually needed in my life to make a difference for me. She was way more than a teacher. She was a mentor. She was a friend. Ms. Johnson looked at me one day and she said, Tamekia, I believe that you are talented enough to go to this performing arts high school that's located on the west side of town. Now, mind you, I told you I lived on the east side of town, and our high school was walking distance from me. And everybody that was graduating from my school was going to the walking distance school. So here she was telling me I was talented enough to go to a school way across the city. She said, Tamekia, do you want to go to the school? I gave her every excuse not to go to school. My grades are not good enough. I live over here, and I don't know how I'm going to get to school. Every excuse that I could. And she asked me one simple question again. She looked at me in my face. She said, do you want to go to the school? Because I believe you're talented enough to go. She saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And at that point, I decided I wanted to go to the school. Because who was I not to believe in me if she believed in me? So I went to the school. I graduated from the school. Ms. Johnson was very proud of me for graduating from the school. She said, I can't go to your graduation because my kids are graduating, but I'm so proud of you. I love you. That was her last words. Because months later, I looked at the news, and her beautiful picture came across the screen. Teacher missing. I looked at the news again. Teacher found dead. Dead? Now all of a sudden, the mentoring voice that I had in the earth was silenced. And there I was, roaming around again, trying to find another voice. When I found out why she died or how she died, it upset me because I realized that it was our worst kept secret. They found her dead from domestic violence. I never told Ms. Johnson about the violence that I saw in my home, and she obviously never told me about the violence that she experienced her own self. It was our worst kept secret. And so many children that walk through here, through this hospital every day, it's their worst kept secret. Because the statistics may say that 15.5 million US children live in families where violence occurs at least once in a year, but ours was never reported. Nobody ever knew about mine. So I wasn't in that number of 15.5 million. So imagine how many people are not in that number. Ms. Johnson wasn't in that number until her body was found. In a place where everyone matters, everyone can make a difference. These 3 girls that you see on the screen are my difference. I adopted them once I came to Columbus. It's just their minds. And every year, I take a picture of them walking away because just like anything else in life, once they become, they walk away. And every year, I see them grow, and I see them make mistakes. And I tell them that they can live beyond their mistakes because I live beyond my mistakes. And I challenge each and every last one of you in this hospital, whatever it is you do, from the CEO to the janitor, find some kid that you can deposit life into so that one day they'll be able to stand on a stage with awesome diversity of people and still realize that they have a spot on the red carpet as well. Because what if you don't? What if they never become butterflies? What if their eggs never grow into caterpillars? What if the process of pupa is interrupted by the process of life? What if the social determinants prevent them from emerging from cocoons? What if those beautiful wings never fling into the direction of their destiny? See, I can't fabrish, I can't imagine, I can't stand the thoughts of what if. That's why each one should teach one, should love one, should mentor at least one. Thank you.